George Dunton Widener was born in Philadelphia in 1861. His family was very wealthy, with his father being involved in the cable and electric streetcar business. In fact, his father was a board member of the bank, which owned International Mercantile Marine, the company which owned the White Star Line. Eventually, George took over the running of his father's business interests. In 1883, he married Eleanor Elkins, the daughter of his father's business partner. They eventually had 3 children, Harry, George Jr., and Eleanor. In April of 1912, George, his wife, and eldest son Harry, along with their maid and manservant, were on a trip to Europe to select a chef for their new hotel, the Ritz-Carlton. They booked passage home on board the newest White Star Line steamship, the RMS Titanic. George and Harry boarded at Southampton, and they met Eleanor where she boarded the ship at Cherbourg. On the evening of Sunday the 14th, the Wideners held a dinner party in the a la carte restaurant in honor of Captain Smith. The guests included such dignitaries as Mr. and Mrs. John Thayer, Major Archibald Butt, Clarence Moore, and William and Lucille Carter. After the ladies had retired, the men sat in the smoking room talking and were still there when the ship struck the iceberg at approximately 11:40 p.m. Once the ship began to sink, the Wideners eventually gathered themselves and made their way to the top deck. There, Eleanor and her maid were placed in lifeboat number 4 by George and their son Harry. The last that Eleanor saw of them, the two were standing at the rail talking with others, such as John Thayer and John Jacob Astor. Their wives had also been placed into boat number 4. This boat was the last to leave the port side of the ship at 1:50 a.m., just half an hour before the Titanic would go under. George and Harry Widener, along with their manservant Edwin Keeping, were among those lost when the ship sank in the early hours of April 15, 1912. George Widener was 50 years old. His son Harry was 27. Neither of them were found by the recovery ship. Eleanor was rescued by the Carpathia, and after returning to Philadelphia began planning for the funerals. Their daughter, also named Eleanor, married later that June. Harry, who was a 1907 graduate of Harvard University, was an avid rare book collector. Some sources claimed that he had dreamed of building his own educational library or institution someday. That dream soon came true. Later in the summer of 1912, his mother Eleanor donated money and Harry's extensive book collection, thus establishing the Harry Elkins Widener Memorial Library at his alma mater, Harvard University. The library opened in 1915. It is the largest and most lavish memorial to any Titanic victim. While at the dedication, Eleanor met Dr. Alexander Hamilton Rice, an explorer and geographer who was a professor at Harvard. The two were married soon after. She joined Rice on many trips to South America, Europe, and Asia. Eleanor died of a stroke while shopping in a Paris department store in 1937. She was 75 years old. Thanks for watching Profiles from the Titanic.